Well, it's Thursday, and you all know what that means. As you probably know, we have Ring of Honor, as always, featuring many matches. Of course, we have Persephone making her return. As you all know, she is now a double contract wrestler with both CML and AEW slash Ring of Honor, that sort of thing. And we have, of course, plenty other matches taking place. The main event features the Luchadors taking on the combination of the premier athletes and the swirl. So that's going to be a very interesting match. And then, of course, TNA has their final show before we head to No Surrender. So a lot of things is going to take place. As you probably know, Moose is still dealing and reeling about the betrayal with the system and all that. And of course, we have other things that are pressing matter and that is taking place. So we'll see how things will progress from there. And then, of course, as always, we wrap up our episode as usual with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information is unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Nike Sayaka watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us and click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough with the jibber jabbers, let's get to it. So, let's begin with Ring of Honor. Okay, Ring of Honor. We opened up, of course, with the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles on the line. Now, it's been a while since we've seen these guys, and of course, it's been, who knows, when these titles were defended. Now, recently, as you probably may remember, Top Flight, mostly, or should I say, Christopher Daniels, who plays the manager, coach of Skyflight, as you probably know, are questioning why these pelts were not being defended. Well, as the old saying goes, ask you shall be delivered. So that's exactly what happened. So LFI, Sammy Guevara, and Beast Mortos defend them. Now, of course, I would have assumed that maybe they would have already exchanged it, but no. It was a pretty good match, but in the end, it was Beast Mortos who walked away with the win when he applied a pinfall onto Darius Martin, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, Jay Lethal, as you all know, not too long ago, he betrayed Bandito. Because, as you know, Bandito has been the top guy right now as our current ROH World Champion. And Bandito, and of course, Jay Lethal feels it's time to end it. But, however, of course, Tommy Billington had some words to say to him, saying that he already pissed off 2 pit bulls. He's referring to himself and Adam Priest. So he told him, why not face me like a man, one-on-one? So that's exactly what's happening. Now, our next match, we have Michael Oku. Many of you know him. He's from Rev Pro, along with his, I don't know if it's his fiance or wife, Amira. Um, joining them is, of course, the Sons of Texas, of course, Ross and Marshall Von Erich, along with their dad. And, of course, Kevin gave Michael Oku the cowboy hat as a stamp of approval. So basically, it was a pretty good match. But their opponents are a couple of guys named DOXP, O'Day, and Timur the Great. Now, I don't know much about these guys, but obviously this match was going to go with Oku and the Von Erichs, and that's exactly what happened. We did see, of course, Ross and Marshall apply the Iron Claw, but it was Ross who was, in fact, the Marshall who was the legal person with the Iron Claw, while Michael Oku got another person in a submission, and just like that, it was over. So Michael Oku and the Von Erichs picked up the win. However, the commentators made a observing thing that maybe we'd like to see Michael Oku and the Von Erichs team up in hopes to challenge for the ROH six-man tag team title. So that is something we could definitely see, but only time will tell. Now, our next match, we have Julissa Mexa. Many remember her as Julissa Leon back in NXT. She makes her debut in Ring of Honor, and she's facing, of course, Presephone, who we all seen appear in Ring of Honor and AEW. So, obviously, this was going to be in favor to Presephone because people are behind her, and she picked up a very fantastic win when she applied a crucifix bomb, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Our next match, we have the Outrunners and Dalton Castle taking on KM, Rosario Grillo, and Nathan Cruz. Well, obviously, we all know this match was definitely going to go fall in favors with the Outrunners and Dalton Castle. But it was, of course, Dalton Castle with the bangerang onto Grillo, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, adios. Now, JD Drake, as you know, put out a video promo calling out, of course, Adam Priest, questioning his motivation, of course, with his match he had with Okada, that sort of thing. So he's saying, you don't go out and just try to go and have a match with Okada, stuff, and act like you think you run the place. So that kind of sets it up. So we could see those two in a head-on. We don't know when or where. Now, our next match, we have Lance Archer of the Don Callis family taking on Will Alday. Well, obviously, this was going to fall in favors with Lance Archer because he applied the blackout, and just like that, everybody dies. 1, 2, 3, adios. Now, our main event is Swirl. Lee Johnson and Blake Christian teaming up with the premier athletes, of course, Tony Nese and Arya Davari, along with that idiot Smart Mark Sterling, or should I call him Smart Idiot Sterling, and of course Stony Denali, who, as you know, she's been a reliable source for them to ensure for the premier athletes to win. Now, of course, it was a pretty good Lucha Libre moment. And, of course, that idiot Sterling decided to get involved and try to stop their usual motivation, but it didn't stop. However, when he thought he had everything under control, that idiot weasel Sterling decided to distract the referee, and Stormy Denali chokeslam Bandito, but they completely lost it right there. But in the end, it was, of course, the 21 plex by Bandito onto Davari, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, the Luchadors picked up the win. We have Shwala, Commander, Mascaradora, and Bandito. So it was a pretty good match, so I enjoyed it. So I think that's it for Ring of Honor. Let's move on with TNA. Alright, TNA. We opened up with Moose coming out to do a promo, of course. Now, people wanted to ask what's going on with him and the system. As we all know, not too long ago, the system decided to kick out Moose, and all this and that. But Moose made a fantastic point. He wasn't going to cry about it like a little girl, and that's exactly what he intends to do. But, however, there is one thing he did ask. He wants to find someone who would know how to take out the system. And the only person who was able to do that was Mike Santana. So of course Mike Santana is willing to give him some advice, but however, someone decided to be a party pooper, the one who claims that everybody is irrational. Well, in reality, she's the one with the rational issues, and that is Daria Ray. So she's telling them to leave her ring to move on to the next match. Well, sooner or later, someone's going to have to hit her in the head. Now, Ryan Bennett had an interview with Gia Miller about, of course, her a match against Mara Shade. Of course, he was talking about how many times has Mara Shade super kicked her. Well, who knows? Maybe like a gazillion times. I don't know. And of course, he thinks that this Albuquerque Street Fight will be an embarrassment in her hometown in Albuquerque. Well, we'll see about that. Now, while Moose is still trying to prepare himself for his upcoming main event with Santana and the Hardys, Alicia Edwards, as you know, tries to apologize to what happened with Moose. However, Moose, as you know, he holds no problems towards her. He said that it wasn't your fault. You didn't see it, neither did I. But of course, you know, Alicia doesn't know what to do. But Moose is understanding that, look, I understand that you don't know what to do. And it's very honest of her because, simple, not even her own husband, who betrayed Moose, told her about what they were planning. So, that's pretty much it right there. Now, our next match, we have Rich Swann versus Nick Bennett. I thought the match was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty amazing. But, of course, people still talk about Rich, about his feud with AJ Francis, and Nick Bennett as the, how to say, the call your shot gauntlet winner, you know, who can call his shot any time. But, man, the match was pretty good until, of course, Nick Bennett applied the Danger Zone, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, we did see a bit of a video promo in the backstage area between Xia Brookside and Indy Hartwell. However, as you know, they talk about Li Ling Ying, who is preparing to defend her title against, of course, Ariana Grace. They said they have something stored in mind. You see, Xia reminded Indy Hartwell that she's the one who pinned M, and Xia was the one who pinned Heather. So technicality, they get a shot of the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team belts. So that could happen. But of course, they have to deal with two things. Well, that idiot Chihuahua, of course, the Castelletti, whatever he calls himself, and not to mention, of course, Mr. Elegance. So we'll see how that plays out too. Now, the Righteous, as you know, for recently, since they arriving, they've been trying to get themselves to establish a somewhat of a team up between themselves and the Hardys. So they're happy that they're going to get that opportunity at No Surrender against the Order of Force. So we'll see where that leads us from there. Now, Eric Young comes out to do a promo. As you know, recently he's been talking about cleansing, of course, TNA of all the things that's been happening, especially, as you know, the corporate puppets. So BDE, as you know, has been the latest person that tried to, Eric is trying to say, are you with me or are you against me? Well, BDE knows, look, I know things, the politics and all this other stuff, but I'm not going to get myself involved in something that doesn't concern me. So it was more a simple no, and then of course, Eric Young snaps, and then he applied a power driver onto him, and he was going all crazy. Now, however, he was being escorted out by Santino, telling him he's suspended. But of course, the one person who's saying everybody is irrational except her, of course, Daria Ray, decided to overrule him, saying that she needs him against a match against BDE. So, like I said, someone needs to hit her in the head. Now, we jump into the Albuquerque Street Fight, Mara Shade versus Nick Bennett. I have to say, I didn't think we're going to see an intergender match taking place. And I thought it was a pretty good one, a very good one. But the one thing that was really interesting is that Mara Shade, as you all know, we've seen her come out with lollipops. And she used that instead of like thumbtacks. I'm sure they hurt as hell. You know, I'm not going to lie about that. But it's not like more dangerous like we've seen with thumbtacks in the past or with Legos. You know, that sort of thing. But it was effective. But it only took one shot for Mara Shade to take out Bennett with a super kick, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, adios. Now, Mance Warner and Steph DeLanders, as you know, showed up. They're talking about what they're planning to do. They're planning to stack bodies and, of course, bring in making violence their pay the bills, that sort of thing. So I don't know exactly what they're planning, but we'll see. Now, Elijah, as you know, has been watching what's been happening. So he was disgusted for what Mustafa Ali did to Jada Stone. So he put him in a match called a guitar case casket match, where it's more like you walk with Elijah, that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens. We haven't heard anything from Mustafa what he had to say about that. Now, Ariana Grace went to thank her father, Santino Morel, since she'll be facing Li Yingling at No Surrender for the TNA Knockouts World Championship. So we'll see where that leads us to. Now, the System, Cedric Alexander, Bear Bronson, Brian Myers, and Eddie Edwards, they take on Moose, the Hardys, and Mike Santana. The match at first started very, very well. It absolutely, even Alicia decided to stood by Moose after her being excluded out of the conversation by her husband, Eddie. But, however, things took a turn when, of course, Jeff Hardy was taken out by Bronson. And just like that, the System picked up the win. So we'll see what happens in No Surrender. I'm not sure if I'll be able to see it, but we'll see. But as of right now, we'll end things here and move on to our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So let's begin with upcoming events. Now, as you know, on February 27th, New Japan will be making their way to do the New Beginning USA in New Jersey, and they just announced, of course, a tag team match. Kushida will be teaming up with El Desperado to take on Jordan Oliver and Alec Price, so that's going to be a fantastic tag team match. But however, that wasn't the only match that they announced. We had Fred Rosser taking on David Finlay. This will be the first time ever facing off. Now, however, there's a lot of talk about, of course, David Finlay, his exit, since he had been interested of working with signing with WWE, but we haven't heard anything about that front. But this is what we've been hearing so far. Excuse me. Right, moving on. As you know, we had the double shows with Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, which is Global Wars Canada with Ring of Honor. That'll happen on 27th of March, and then Uprising on the 28th of March. They just announced the Maple Leaf Canadian champion, of course, Josh Alexander, will be present. And then finally, of course, we have the Las Vegas show from GCW, MDK Fight Club. 4 more names have been announced to participate. We have Ciclope, Slade, Kroll, and of course the Duke of Hardcore, John Wayne Murdoch. Now, on to some developments. Many of you may have heard names being mentioned for the WWE tryouts. These are the names that have been mentioned. We have Nikki Blackheart, Promise Braxton, Valentina Rossi, and Zoe Zager. So these are names that have been mentioning. Now, we know there's been other names that have been mentioned about the tryouts. We are waiting to see what's going to happen from there. Now, some of you may have heard the story going on about Brody King not being at AEW Dynamite. Dave Meltzer was kind of speculating, saying that maybe because it had something to do with the F chants, the chants that they had where people were saying F Ice the entire time. Now, however, that wasn't the case. Fightful Select were kind enough to get a real story behind that. This is what the statement coming from them, from Warner Brothers Discovery on Brody King. Warner Bros. Discovery did not have any involvement in Brody King upcoming AEW schedule. Any speculation to the contrary is categorized false. Brody is scheduled to appear during the next AEW event, which will air Saturday on TNT and HBO Max. So basically, it wasn't that. So that's the probably reasons. But I mean, I don't blame him. People like to speculate things like that. But anyway, we also hear from Dakota Kai. She had talked with Busted Open Radio about, would she join AEW or TNA? And this is what she said. Once I get back to it, TNA, AEW are so many more popular many more have people that I would have faced in the ring. I haven't really pinpoint into any particular thing. I just once I do this match and get the wheels turning, wherever my path may lead, I am open to it completely. So she hasn't decided yet what's gonna be. We know that she has an upcoming match later on in March, of course, facing Chris Statlander for the EVE International Championship. So we'll see where that leads us from there. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's call it a day. All right. I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, well, I did hear we do have a Stardom show taking place in Cork and Hall. I may do those. I think we have the TNA No Surrender show taking place as well. I may have the opportunity to do that one. But we'll see how things will go. If there's any other shows I may do, if I might, and also as you know, I probably will keep keeping up with Mighty Gold with their much recent shows from the New Year's Golden Garden tour. So we'll see how that about that. If there's any news updates that I've been hearing, I'll let you guys know as soon as possible. But as of right now, that's it. Until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.